Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Leigh and I'm here today with Paul Best from Radioshop Pickups. And today we're going to talk about what a humbucker should really sound like.
Well, what a vintage humbucker.
Yeah.
It's going to be open to all sorts of interpretation, but this is going to be my thoughts on that subject.
Yeah, so obviously when we think of vintage humbuckers, we think of all our favourite tones from the 50s, 60s and 70s. So we're going to dig into the humbucker sound of that era, more notably the PAF sound. And we're going to talk about basically why that sound exists and
definitely,
why we think that should be the sound for a humbucker.
Yeah, but this, I think, we're going to get a lot of, I'm sure you'll get comments, people saying, humbucker should sound like this. And it's all opinion. And that's the biggest thing about the guitar world is like, quite often people will pass off fact as opinion, and this is really going to be, I'm trying to sort of like tell people what's under the hood of a humbucker, because you know, to a lot of people that's a humbucker and they're not really thinking about what's going on underneath. So I'm going to take the cover off and show you and explain about unbalanced coils, which is a massive part of that vintage thing with humbuckers.
So the unbalanced coil is sort of the key really to that classic sort of humbucker sound then.
I was going to say, it's kind of, we make unbalanced pickups. We're unbalanced people making no. Yeah,
that should be the company tagline.
Yeah, it should be, no. We're fairly well balanced people making, we're unbalanced coils anyway. So, but basically, if we look into what humbuckers are, underneath it, you've got, effectively, I suppose, two single coils. And it's almost easy for me to start by showing what a Strat pickup is, which I've got here, one of ours, obviously. And basically, it's a single coil design. A lot of you would be familiar with that concept where you've got one coil, and this one is wound clockwise, and it's charged north. So you've got a clockwise charged north, but of course it picks up 50 or 60 cycle hum. So in the early days, in the 50s, people were noticing that they were getting certain sounds creeping through. Obviously not like your monitor white noise from today, but like poor electrics, all sorts of things were coming through, even radio signals. So obviously a couple of bright sparks at Gibson, and I'm pretty sure it was that the Filtertron was developed at the same time. Yeah,
like mid-50s-ish, I believe.
Yeah, they were working
maybe
on
even slightly earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And people, when you think about it, like, so basically we take that concept, like you've got this one clockwise coil, which is charged one magnetic orientation. You take two. Now, so this is what's underneath the hood of your cover, really. You've got one coil. Now that could be charged north and wound clockwise. When combined with another coil, which is charged oppositely, so anti-clockwise and charged south, when combined together, they will buck the hum. So
hence the name.
Yeah, exactly. So they will get rid of those noises. Now, back in the day, this is where the fun happens for me, because Gibson, things weren't that accurate back then. Okay, so in the 50s, and this is why you get these Les Pauls now, which some of it just sound like heavenly and others are not so good, because there's a lot of variation. And basically the story goes, in classic terms, I would think of as a humbucker as having 5,000 winds on one, 5,000 on another. I would call it a pure humbucker.
Is that a pretty strict number as well for people?
Well,
like I don't know the theory behind humbuckers either. So for anyone watching, if you're not familiar with the technical stuff, like would it be 5,000 winds?
Not on everything, no. I mean, there's a myriad of humbuckers out there. So you've got your sort of face melting stuff. You've got your more polite stuff that probably we make. Vintage inspired output is around about sort of 7.8k for a bridge, but you get people making sort of humbuckers at 15k using different wires, different amounts of turns of wire. So there's ways of getting those sort of different outputs. But if we speak in those terms, 5,000 on one, 5,000 on another, you would have an equal humbucker.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now what happened was Gibson did not have counters on their pickup winders. Okay, so they would put it on, and then basically they either sort of wound it to time, the amount of time that it should take to do 5,000. Or somebody would just go, oh, that looks like enough.
Right. Yeah.
Which doesn't seem quite scientific enough, but basically, that's what they would do. So you would get a huge variation. You could have 6,000 on this one, and 5,100 on that, and what happens when you unbalance coils is that you begin to let through some of those single coil characteristics.
Okay.
And I suppose they are spoken of as being like sort of a bit more open sounding, a bit more character in a lot of ways. I would describe what I call a pure humbucker, very equal coils, as being very clean.
Yeah.
I would probably recommend that for somebody who's doing like the metal type stuff, or who doesn't want a gritty humbucker.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
I think when you start to unbalance, you get a bit more of an open sound, a bit area. I love these adjectives, you know, because they don't mean anything today, but
they mean something.
They mean something. It's like creamy, you know. When
Yeah.
people say, "Oh yeah, that sounds creamy," it's like, what does that sound like? But yeah, nice open sound, nice bit of some real good characteristics, and more of a single coil flavour.
Okay.
And I think this is where people, with the title of the video comes in. There's a really good video actually of Joe Bonamassa was telling you about explaining what a humbucker should sound like. And it should sound like a single coil.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And some of those classic vintage ones would have had a more single coil character to them.
Yeah. Because this is one problem I've always had. One problem I've always had with humbuckers, and I've mentioned this in other videos on the channel as well, is that I love the sound of an overdriven humbucker, but when it comes to clean tones, humbuckers for me lose it, because I just find that a lot of humbuckers lose that kind of clarity.
Yeah.
And if it comes to clean tones, I would pick a single coil any day. And I'm yet to find a humbucker that I hear clean and really kind of gives me the sound that I'm looking for.
But at the same time, I suppose I don't think there's one humbucker that does it all, because
yeah, of course,
you know, you're not, it's horses for course, isn't it? And you're going to have like this humbucker here, you might find it great for, I don't know, like that Clapton woman tone, but you know, if I give it to like, I don't know, Kerry King of Slayer, he's going to say this is useless for my use, you know.
Yeah.
And of course back then, so you know, in terms of unbalanced coils, they're going to sound more P90-esque.
Okay.
And the P90 is, for me, is like the most underrated pickup out there, because
I love P90s.
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. Like a P90 sounds stupendously good as a design.
Yeah.
But when that was developed in the sort of, I don't know, 30s?
Yeah, because the P90 is sort of one of the original sort of pickup groupings, isn't it? Like beyond the old school sort of ones you get on the sort of early 30s acoustics. Like the P90 is definitely one of the first ones that was mass produced.
Yeah, widely
appeared
used
on guitars. Well. Yeah.
I think what happened with the P90 was that, of course, in the sort of 40s and 50s, it was seen as, you know, Gibson's pickup, and then of course as soon as they invent the PAF, the humbucker, this was kind of relegated to like sort of junior models and things like that, which are obviously brilliant guitars, but people suddenly viewed the P90 as being in some way inferior.
Yeah, definitely.
But one of the things about the P90, we're going off a P90 tangent, is that it's very, very susceptible to like the volume changes. The character of the pickup changes as you change the volume on the guitar. It can be sort of gentle, and then it can be very explosive. It's very, very expressive pickup. When you use unbalanced coils, you begin to bring some of those single coil characteristics back through.
Right, okay.
And that's to me what a humbucker should sound like. Have a look for that Bonamassa video where he makes a bridge pickup of Les Paul sound like Tele.
Yeah.
He's playing country licks.
Okay.
And the guitar sounds like it should be playing country licks, because it's more of a single coil flavour. So we've had decades of hearing Gibsons which were wound equally. Because of course people come along much later and go, oh, these are all unbalanced, they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And as you standardise things into the maybe 60s, 70s, 80s, you actually go, well, we don't want that now. It's only us coming back and looking back and saying, hang on, these are all unbalanced. Especially when you get people on the vintage market. Like I know a lot of pickup makers have access to somebody who will let them take a pickup apart. And I'm talking about like a 58 Les Paul. I will let, because if somebody said to me, I will lend you my Les Paul for the weekend and you can take the pickup apart.
Would you take it apart though?
Well, I probably wouldn't want to. I got to be honest, because you know, I mean, what are they worth now? Like a 58 Les Paul?
well, 59s are sort of like 300k plus. 58s are probably not too much different.
So it's not. I mean, you don't want to break it. Because I am very confident that I can go in there and put it all back as it was. But it's like diffusing a bomb moment. But of course, if I could get in there, I could take readings, and I can then get a reading off one coil. So this is, the pole piece coil, the screw coil.
Yeah.
I can get a reading off that. In terms of output, and I can get a reading off. This is what we call the slug coil.
Right.
I can now replicate that pickup as close as today will let me do that.
Yeah. In
terms of availability of wire and all that stuff. It's going to get geeky.
That's good. That's what we like.
Pickup making. It's going to be geeky. Yeah. But that's what I would do.
Yeah, we said we were going to talk about why these pickups sound this way, and obviously, what a vintage humbucker should sound like. So it's good to know the background of why that all works as well.
So now you're going to play some death metal for us, and
cool.
Well,
because I'm known for playing that. That's
But yeah, my challenge for you is to make that. I suppose to get some. Can you get those classic tones out of it?
Yeah.
Can you also get some single coil style tones out of it and sort of show what I mean?
Okay. Let's find out then. So, what are the set that you've got in here?
So that's the Radioshop PAF.
Okay.
We developed those with a really nice chap called Joey Pearson of Bridgend, and he basically, what we did is, I call it like recipe making, if you like. I mean, if I bring these out again, I'll have these out about 10 times an hour. But basically, I said, right, okay, you put 5,000 on one, 5,000 on another. Well, if you're going to start unbalancing, the first question is now, which one would be the strongest one?
Right.
And by how much? So you, as a pickup maker, you've got to take yourself very seriously, really, and sort of do lots and lots of research.
Yeah.
We had, I think, 5 Les Pauls lined up, and they were like literally A, B, C, D, E, trying this split in the neck and that's this one in the bridge. We would try, say, for instance, 5,500 on this, 4,500 on that.
Yeah.
Always playing with 10,000 as being the amount of turns.
But just offset between the
because you've got you want to keep one variable. You want to keep the same alnico when you're like testing out a pickup and getting this kind of trying to arrive at this recipe. You don't want other variables in there. So we would use alnico 4. We would use 10,000 total lines, and we would experiment by making one stronger than the other and varying the amount by which it was stronger.
Yeah. Cool.
What we found was the bigger the number, the bigger the difference, it would sound a bit gnarlier, if you like, which could suit some styles.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a number to be struck, and that is, I mean, I know anybody can just take a knife to that and find out what our recipe is really.
Right.
And cost them the price of a set of pickups. But effectively, we've got a recipe now we're really happy with.
Yeah.
And Joey helped us with that because he's a real humbucker aficionado. And when we put one in the neck and he says, you've got to go back and try a different one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm happy with this.
Cool.
And it's a very settled recipe.
Yeah.
I hope you're going to love it. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. And it was like, blood, sweat and tears sort of arriving at it.
All right, well, let's hear how it sounds then. So these pickups are in this very nice Edwards Les Paul that you've got.
Yep.
Which is a Japanese made one, I believe.
Yeah, I like, I'm a bit of a sort of, I don't know, I like a bit of a bargain.
Yeah, me too.
I love Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
Because it seems to sort of hit that point, doesn't it?
It's something I talk about on videos a lot, is that I love Japanese guitars as well, and I think that there's some of the best value you can get for money. Mm-hmm. That you can easily get a guitar that's just as good as any big builder, but without spending, 6 figures on a guitar.
And of course I got it second hand. I think I paid £500.
Wow.
Which is not bad. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the bigger one. I think they have a few different lines,
Yeah, they do, yeah.
I love this thing where they name the guitars in like the amount of yen. Do you know what I mean? So like, because apparently Gibson used to do, I did a video as well before where I said like, this guitar was named after its price point. It's the Strat behind us. This is another Edwards, right? I'm not in cahoots with Edwards. In fact, you know, I tagged them and they don't think they even noticed. But yeah, I think this is called like a 250 or something.
Okay.
And it just means it was 250,000 yen.
Right.
Or maybe 120. Whatever it is, it's that amount of yen. That's how much it costs. So this one was like a lower spec Edwards, but it's, you know,
doesn't actually say guitar. Yeah, it feels nice. Nice fat neck as well. So this, for anyone who is a regular watcher, you'll know the usual signal chain. It's going through the Black Star Studio 10, which is behind me. Usual mic, the Lewitt Audio LCT 440, and the Surfy Industries spring reverb tank. And I believe, yes, I have my Cherry Tone Centura on as well as a clean boost. So that's my pretty standard clean signal chain. So let's see if we can get some single coil sounds.
Nice.
See, I can already hear a sparkle to those that I've not really heard with many humbuckers before.
No,
There's like
thank you.
a more open kind of top end. It's like an articulation thing. Some humbuckers, to me, always kind of sound like you've got the tone halfway down. Like that sort of sound.
It could be a number of aspects. I mean, you know, with pickups as well, you look at the pickup height setting.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I'm sort of, people come to you and say, like, I've got a dark sound on something, and it can be a little tweak can open those things up. But yeah, that's hopefully some of the characteristics you get from it.
Yeah, definitely.
The neck is, I mean, do you, like in terms of humbucker sounds, how many humbucker sounds would you say that there are? Like in terms of, you know, you got this, the woman tone, which you've already mentioned, but do you think of there being 5 or 6 real humbucker sounds?
I would think of like the bridge for your sort of big rock sound.
Yeah.
And your sort of screaming leads. Then like the neck pickup for the sort of Gary Moore / kind of sounds. Like you said, the Clapton thing when you roll the tone off. And then I guess like the other big humbucker sound would be like the Peter Green out of phase kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would definitely be up there. But that's a very specific... Like,
niche.
That's specific to his guitar rather than humbuckers in general. And yeah, beyond that, I wouldn't have said there was many other, like, you know, you sort of hear a bridge humbucker and it sounds like a bridge humbucker to most people.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Cracking.
Let's have a listen to the neck pickup then.
Nice.
Yeah, you can really hear the chiming
Yeah.
of the pickups, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't get too muddy because neck pickups, again, on a lot of humbuckers that I've personally experienced, the neck pickup can get a little bit mushy on the clean tone.
Do you get people to? I'd love to hear. I don't know what that means. That means put some comment.
Yeah, let us know what you think of the sound of these as well,
Great
and what
to
you
know.
think a vintage humbucker should sound like. Because that's obviously a good discussion topic, is what you actually think as well.
Yeah. Or what you think any humbucker should sound like. Because of course, I think one of the great things is the sort of how much polarization of opinion there is out there. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll get people who feel very strongly, you know. But like to me, I thought that sounded. So there's a bluesiness to the neck, isn't there, which I really like.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
That's for everything on full, yeah. Well,
yeah. That was
what
everything on
happens
full.
if we take a bit of tone off, for instance, on that?
Bridge or neck pickup? What would
On
you
the
say?
neck.
On
let's
the
say.
neck.
Like what sound can you get from a neck with the roll off?
Let's go to about halfway.
want to see if we can get a tele sound of it now.
Do you reckon? So bridge.
Yeah. Because again, I keep coming back to this Bonamassa video, which is kind of, to me, when I hear him playing country on a Les Paul bridge, that's going to be anathema to most people, isn't it? You know, you shouldn't be using Les Paul for country. I don't. Are there people who do or have classically done it? I mean, but do you know? I'm not sure if you know many country.
Not so much country, but I suppose we're delving a little bit into jazz here. But Les Paul himself,
Yeah.
he was obviously predominantly a clean player, and I guess really his guitar never sounded like what we think a Les Paul sounds like.
That's
like
true,
when we
yeah.
think of a Les Paul, we think of Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, Gary Moore. We don't think of this guy playing jazz.
Yeah, and fingerstyle type stuff. And
Yeah.
but it's great. I mean, I've always loved those sort of like coffee table books, you know, like History of the Guitar, you know, or like the 1,000 Wackiest Designs or whatever. And when you read that story about the log and him going and saying, like, you know, we should be making solid bodies.
Yeah.
You know, make me a solid body. And then he's obviously such a big figure in the development of, like, you know, what leads to, like, Slash, basically. But, like, how do you put those two things together?
Yeah. There's almost like a disconnect, isn't there, between what he designed versus what we use that product for.
Because what I find is when I pick up a Les Paul, because I probably am traditionally more sort of Strat oriented, when I pick it up, I think I should be playing a certain thing.
Yeah.
When I plug into an amp, I think I should be playing like the towering solos, which of course I can't do. But when I unplug it and I'm just sort of noodling around, I'm playing more stuff that I would play like fingerstyle.
Yeah. I get what you mean. The way I kind of feel with Les Pauls, and I think this is why I don't play them so much these days, is I'm kind of driven to play a certain way based on the way a guitar, I don't want to say the way the guitar looks, but the way the guitar feels to me. So when I play a Les Paul, I play way harder, like more aggressively, more in that kind of like blues rock kind of vibe.
Yeah,
but when
yeah.
I play with a Strat, I'm intentionally more gentle. I'll play subtler things, more melodic things. Whereas Les Paul, I'm just getting straight into the big string bends and hitting the guitar really hard.
What field of Flying V then?
That's a good
Proper
question.
pointy Flying V.
I don't know what I'd play.
I wouldn't even know what to play like on that sort of thing.
No, I don't think I would either. So, let's see if we can get twangy with this then.
Yeah,
so
you
I'm
got
not
it,
much of a
yeah.
country player, but
Well, there's no reason why you can't get away with that, really, is it? I don't think.
yeah, that's what the extent of my country playing.
There isn't that sort of illustrates to me the bridge probably even better than the single coil coming through, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, sounds nice.
I think it's all like reference points as well, because when I think of a Tele, I think of like a bit of crunch as well. So like I just kicked on the Wampler Bell, which is like a Noble's ODR1 kind of thing. That's the Tele.
See, that's more Les Paul, and that to me, that's more what a Les Paul is now.
Yeah, like the big rock thing.
That feels better, doesn't it?
Yeah, that to me is like what I'd instinctively play with a Les Paul. See, it rolls off good as well. That's always the thing with the good humbucker, is it should roll off nicely.
See, I can't play like this. I can't do any of this stuff. Like, every time I play like a guitar, I either think I'm Roger McGuinn playing my 12-string stuff, or like John Squire of Stone Roses, that's kind of thing.
Yeah,
or maybe
genuine
Chet
stuff.
Atkins. Like I want to be like Chet, but I obviously can't. I haven't put the hours in that Chet put in, like, you know. But like, I actually, to me, there's an instant smile on my face when you play like that, because it probably is where a Les Paul lives, really, in it. You know?
Well, yeah, historically, that is the sort of thing that we associate a vintage humbucker with, isn't it? Is that kind of bluesy, sort of 60s and 70s rock thing. That's sort of what has become the humbucker sound.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah,
the humbucker
great.
wasn't designed to be played like that originally, because no one was playing like that in the 40s and 50s when the early kind of iterations of that pickup style came around.
It's supposed to be jazz, wasn't it? Really, because you got your other models like a 175,
175, 125 as well was another one. That might have been the one with the P90s.
One of them 175s.
But then you had Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses playing on Accident Instruction. So
I always think, like, if I had a 175, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I can imagine, like, you pick it up and go, look at that lovely cutaway. It's that Fiorentine cutaway for me. I think, oh, that's beautiful. I'd get it home. I'm just like, what do I do now? I have no jazz repertoire.
Yeah,
Get
play
some,
like.
I suppose.
That's about all the jazz I know.
Can you play in jazz?
No.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
The trick with jazz is to play blues, but always start 1 fret lower. Not really, but
I was going to say, I was just having to get home.
it's like cheating jazz. If you know your minor pentatonic scale, just start 1 fret lower. And it kind of sounds jazz. I mean, obviously, if there's anyone watching who actually understands jazz, you'll pull holes in that theory, but you could get jazzy.
Could we compare with a single coil?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so now we've got the Edwards Strat, as if by magic.
They should be paying
and the
us.
guitar changed.
The irony is that we've probably used a couple of the guitars and they don't even know.
That's true, yeah.
So Edwards, like, can you please get in touch? Like,
do it, Edwards. So this is another set of your pickups, which is the 60.
And that's the black one. Yes, it's the
black one,
inspired by John Mayer one.
Okay.
Which everybody keeps asking me what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, if you could show them what it sounds like, that'd be great.
So I guess the whole reason we've got the Strat now is because we've been talking about humbuckers and how they should have a sort of single coil characteristic to them. So really what we should hear is some similar sounds. So should we start clean? We started clean last time.
I don't know, I think we should go with the last sound.
Okay.
Because that's the most recent in the mind, for me anyway. But
No, you can definitely hear some of the like. I think the single coils don't have the same body as the humbucker because obviously you've got the dual coils there, but you can definitely hear that attack and that articulation.
Yeah. It's interesting. It is interesting to go to A/B those sorts of things. Yeah,
I think there's definitely a single coil characteristic to the PAF style set in the Edwards. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is
But
So I guess really that sort of answers the question of what we think a vintage humbucker should sound like.
I hope it's helped some people with kind of what's under the hood, because I think in some ways this, it's a lovely, gorgeous cover, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it kind of hides a little bit of the sort of magic, of what's going on underneath. And I still love it that these are called slugs.
Yeah.
Because we say it all the time, and of course people, you don't realise. I mean, one of the things you got to stay away from, like sometimes is sort of jargon and stuff, isn't it? But, these are known as slugs. That's the slug coil, there it is, And combined with this pull piece thing, you've got a very certain sound. And one of the things that's magical about pickups is, you can see I'm keen on pickups, right?
Nothing wrong with that.
Every single element of them shapes their tone. So the fact that, even the fact that right underneath the pole piece coil, you've got a keeper bar made of steel. Well, that interacts with the magnet. Yeah. So this pickup sounds like it does because that's there. Right. So if you made that out of wood instead, or made it out of plastic, this would sound different. Yeah, because everything contributes to how this sounds different. Yeah, because this is really interesting because I don't really know much about how pickups, how they work or how they're made. I just know what I like the sounds of. Yeah. And I always used to kind of think that pickups were probably the wrong thing to say to a pickup maker, but I always used to think that, if you buy a guitar and the pickups sound good, then why bother? But when I got my first set of really well-made pickups, I instantly noticed the difference.
that for years I always sort of dismissed it as, it's just another way to get people to,
Well, I mean, of course, there's
to
probably...
upgrade things on a guitar. But yeah, like I said, when I got my first proper set of like custom-made pickups, I was like, okay, there is a difference here in a good pickup and what it can do to a guitar.
It's probably the eureka moment I had when I think, I first got into pickups. As a pickup maker, I arrived through being a fan of pickups first, and actually because I was spending quite a lot of money on pickups.
Yeah,
for years I'd have an electric guitar and I wouldn't even think of doing the pickups. It's only when I think in the early 2000s I started reading about Kinman pickups.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And I bought some for a Strat, and I suppose that for me was the big moment where I went, whoa, oh my god, before and after on this is incredible, And it was a Mexican Strat, I think a classic 70s Strat, big headstock.
Yeah, I remember that.
I bought it from Cranes in Cardiff, paid £490.
Cranes used to be a great shop.
Yeah.
That as well.
And I went and got it, and I remember to this day, because the same day I bought a Worm, Electro Harmonix Worm. I was like, I got this new guitar.
I remember that. I can't remember what it did, but I remember I can see the pedal.
Yeah.
Was that like a filthy
I'm going to tell you
thing?
a weird story now, because actually I remember it now. This is the only time I've ever slept with a guitar. Okay? And all right, I don't know why, but I did.
Here we go.
Okay, not in the way you're thinking, but I basically got this guitar home. I think I was so enamored with it. I was playing it in bed, and I just kind of fell asleep. That's my story, right? But weirdly, that night we were burgled,
right?
And a lot of stuff went from this house, but my guitar did not. Now maybe he just thought, that guy really loves that guitar. Or he just thought, I'm not getting involved. I'm coming out of this room now. But either way, maybe that action in itself saved that guitar.
Possibly.
And enabled me to start putting pickups in it, and therefore, this is where I am here today.
Yeah.
Probably not, but yeah.
It's a cool part of the story, though.
It is a cool part of the story. But yeah, I became a fan. I started noticing I was spending a lot of money on pickups. Eventually, I see this advert for the Shatton pickup winder, and I think that planted a seed. I didn't end up getting that machine. We built our own, but the seed was planted. I could actually save myself some money here and make pickups.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then you make one and you think, oh my god, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's how I arrived at this point. Anyway, not that you asked, but
it's a good part of the story. And also for anyone who's unfamiliar with Radioshop Pickups, that's also a good bit of background on how you ended up winding pickups to start off with.
Yeah, lovely.
So yeah, cool. So I think we've hopefully answered the question there about what a vintage humbucker should sound like. Do you think there's any more tones we need to hear from the humbuckers before we
I think we just hear tones from all of your guitars, really.
We might be here a while.
We could finish off with a humbucker tone. What about a little bit of a challenge for you, because everything you mentioned was about the bridge or neck.
Yeah.
Or the middle.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because is the middle something for guitar? Do people use the middle?
And actually, one thing we didn't really talk about.
I love the middle. I think it's great. It's such a great rhythm sound to me.
See if I can get a little bit more juice out of this. Turn the tuner off helps as well. One of my favourite kind of humbucker sounds. I don't think this is. One of my favourite humbucker sounds is actually the
jazzy one,
the blues breaker sound as well, which is like the bridge pickup, but slightly wound back. So you turn everything to 10 and then just back it off slightly. I think there's just a nice bite to that, but you're sort of not using the pickup to its full.
Are you trying like a cheating way and not doing the middle stuff?
Yeah, you can. You can get some good tones on the middle as well.
You got the blend as well. You can, blend in off the volume. And do you do much of that when you're playing?
Not so much when I play live, but in the house and when I'm recording and stuff, I will all the time. Like I like those kind of low blends, like 3 or 4 on the masters, but with quite a gainy sound. So if I crank that up, there's a big rock sound there, but you can find this nice spot where it's sort of like a just off. And it's really dynamic, I find, in that setting. So if you play softer,
that's to me that sort of P90-esque thing sneaking through, that volume sensitivity, like
that's it.
Nice.
I think that's something a good humbucker needs, and the ability to get loads of different tones from just this alone. Like there's a great video of Bernie Marsden that used to play for Whitesnake talking about this, and he said all the effects pedals you need are right here, and you can go from, again, Jimmy Page did it as well, like the whole thing with, you know, the neck pickup is your clean sound. Not so much on that tone, but
it's amazing when you see people who do sort of play the settings of the guitar. You know, like it's like when I was gigging on the P bass, I just used the P bass all night.
Yeah.
And you know, the volume was always on 10, but I was just up and down the tone settings all night.
Yeah.
So I'm playing it, you know, like 4 for like a Motown type sound.
Yeah.
You know, the 7 or 8 bit more modern. And it's just like, that's it. That's the variation.
Yeah, and you can do that.
You know, in some ways, my brain doesn't like all these you know, millions of settings you can have. You know, and there was a guy, this brilliant Telecaster player. I think he's like Blk1 or something like that. And he's like Diesel Billy or something they call it.
Right.
And he's doing all this kind of wow stuff on the telly, like, you know, sorry, on the tone, and then all the volume swells, and you're like, that's insane. Oh yeah.
Subtle, but
Put you on the wrong one now.
it's not as obvious, but
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, brilliant.
But yeah, you are right. You can play the pickups as well, so you could have like the neck pickup.
And
That's fairly clean.
most of your treble from the bridge. You know?
Yeah.
What if you've got a compressor pedal? I'll just give it all that for you, wouldn't it?
Technically,
On the
would,
aggressive setting.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, because it would probably boost up the quiet stuff.
Do you
too
use
much.
compression much?
I don't know. I'm not a fan of compression. I like it for some stuff, like if I'm playing like a funk thing, or if I'm recording a specific sound. Maybe
Is that a song? If I'm playing like a funk thing.
If it's not, it should be a song.
we should write a song called Like a Funk Thing, right? That's that song, yeah.
That's the main riff.
That's Like a Funk Thing.
Like a funk thing, because it's distorted, but it's funky, so it's like.
So it's
a funk
not exactly
thing.
a funk thing.
It's just like
It's like
a funk thing. Yeah. In the same way that a PAF is like a single coil.
Less of a catchy song then, but yeah.
See how we brought that back around to the message of the video?
Definitely.
But yeah, definitely with a good set of PAF style pickups, I think you can definitely get a lot of variation in the tone beyond just what we think a humbucker should sound like.
Yeah,
so I think,
brilliant,
I definitely think.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks for coming on.
So
and I definitely think we've answered the question of what should a vintage humbucker sound like.
Yes.
Or maybe we've just rambled on, but hopefully
Quite
somewhere
likely
in
it's
there
me.
we've answered that question.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, so where can people find out about you and what you do if they want to find out more?
I'll
put these links down
Yellow
below as well.
Pages,
Yellow Pages, just old school pickup builders.
Radioshoppickups.com, or you can look on Instagram. Probably that's better because you can see what we're doing from day to day, and we do a lot of making videos, so you can see a lot of pickups being made, basically.
Cool.
So, enjoy.
There we go. So I'll put some of those links down below as well. So go and check those guys out as well, and let us know what you think about how a vintage humbucker should sound. Because obviously we told you what we think and a bit of the theory behind that. So what do you think? How should a set of vintage humbuckers sound to you? And while you're down there leaving a comment and checking out what these guys do, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you did enjoy it. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.